Right. Yeah.
Well, I see y'all made it back. Where were we? I did some reading ahead. Some of this stuff gets really intense. Like Uncle Ed used to say, if you're not living life on the edge, are you really even living? Some of this isn't his handwriting, to be sure. It almost looks like a young girl may have got hold of the journal at some point.
Roads traveled, busy. Everybody has someplace to go. In the distance, a bird flies high. Destination, anywhere the winds blow. On a residential street, homes lined neat, sit empty, no faces to greet. In a vacant park near, it would appear the only living creature in sight, a bird nestling in a tree, resting from flight. Chattering noise fills the air where mall shoppers flock. Just outside, a bird chirps happily, prompting his feathered friends to mock. Some experience nature by its many sights and sounds, while others remain unaware of the beauty that surrounds. In the simple joys of life, much is given to those open to receive. But many keep life too busy for living to be achieved. Imagine the birds of the air, existing without care. How much better might us humans fare?
We've all been through a lot lately. Difficult times, challenging times, unprecedented times, generational events and game-changing developments, and yet time marches on. There's a little note scribbled in the margin here. Let me see if I can make this out. Imagine if what you're seeing isn't exactly real. Like living inside a movie and someone else is controlling things. Well, let's read the next new normal.
The word finally came. Life was for living once more. Joy and relief swept away fear and anxiety. Businesses reopened to eager customers. Restaurants filled to capacity. People returned to work. Employment and sales picked up. And best of all, social closeness became a thing once more. People welcomed the return of touching and hugging. She did too. She joined in the laughing and crying, which she allowed herself to. No, things would never be the same, but hopefully they'd be just as good. And in time, they'd be even better. And she had a vital role to play in making that happen. And it started with renewing her promise to Mom and Dad. That was what brought her to Quarantine Center number 47, formerly the state prison. A pair of guards escorted her brother into the visiting room. He stared wide and glassy as they guided him to their table. She smiled and tried to take his hands, but he clutched his water bottle. He smelled musty, his hair matted and oily, and his salt and pepper beard frazzled and overgrown. She couldn't even see his mouth until his lips peeled apart, and he spoke in a crackling whisper.
A friend of mine died this morning.
He took her hands this time, but showed no other reaction.
How long had you been friends?
She couldn't think of what else to say. He shook his head.
A week, maybe 2. He hadn't been here that long.
He blinked,
They still have days and weeks, right?
She grinned and coughed a chuckle.
Yes, they do.
He nodded.
Did they have family?
I don't remember him saying.
His mouth hung open for a second.
They still have families, right?
Yes.
He nodded.
How have you been holding up otherwise?
Have I?
You must be. You're still here. And I've come to get you out.
He nodded. She looked up at the solemn guards.
Is his stuff ready?
Yes, ma'am. All packed and ready.
She looked at her brother and squeezed his hands.
Come on. You've got a world to get back to.
Can I take my water?
Of course.
They sped along the highway in the late spring air, basking in the wind and the warmth.
So what happened to all the inmates they let out so we could be quarantined?
They're being kept track of. They'll be brought back. I hope. And I've been covering your rent, so you don't have to worry.
You've been keeping an eye on things?
Yep.
Everything's where I think I left it?
She gave him a half smile.
I think so.
He nodded as he stared out his rolled down window. He stuck out his hand in the rushing wind.
They never told me what they were more upset about. Me cussing out the PA system in the store when it said we were all in this together, not following the arrows on the floor, smashing the automatic sink that said saying happy birthday as you washed your hands, or taking that sledgehammer into the bathroom without paying for it first.
Everything's been taken care of. The charges have been dropped and the damage to the sink was paid for.
What about the sledgehammer?
I think they put it back.
He nodded. She glanced at him.
You're going to be all right. I promised Mom and Dad I'd look out for you. I won't let anything happen to you. We're all that's left, and we have to stick together.
He looked at her for the first time since they left the quarantine center. His eyes started clearing.
Can we get some real food?
Sure. You want to see your favorite scantily clad waitresses?
That would be lovely.
Or it would have been if the place hadn't closed permanently.
Any place else?
He suggested several more places, all of which closed during the shutdown and never reopened.
Burger King?
Okay. But not the Impossible Whopper. It's got estrogen in it.
After their much relished meal, she took him home. He stood in the middle of his living room and looked around at everything he created and had left behind. His artwork, both drawn and computer generated. Images that had crawled out of darkest depths she couldn't possibly conceive. Her brother had always been the weird, creepy kid ever since she could remember. But she protected him, often at the cost of friends, and one she'd hoped would be even more. Mom and Dad had always reminded her of how special he was, and he needed love, patience, and protection. And that was what she tried to give. What else could she do? He had a definite gift, no matter how unnerving. Not graphic or gross, just disturbing. Images of alien landscapes that couldn't exist, populated by creatures and beings that shouldn't be. Yet they did, through him. She watched him turn in a circle, staring at his works in stunned silence. Then he began trembling. His bottom lip quivered. He dropped to his knees, gasping, trembling even harder. She knelt beside him and cradled him. Did the loss of manifesting his demons over the last few months only make things worse?
What is it? Tell me.
Everything. Everything.
She looked around at his visualized nightmares. They would find actual purpose soon, and everything would be better because of them. She squeezed her brother close. Nicholas Leon held influence in the modern art world. He owned prestigious galleries in major cities, and anyone featured in them were guaranteed fame and glory, maybe even immortality. At his word, nobodies became somebodies, and vice versa. and he guided her brother through his Chicago gallery and the uppermost district. She strolled close behind and listened.
I'm sure I don't need to tell you the cathartic influence horror has during and after distressful periods, particularly on a national scale. I can tell your work will greatly help the healing process.
She smiled as her brother nodded. Bill Kirby's video game company delivered hit after hit to all the major playing consoles. Her brother hadn't played any of them, not really his thing, but he bought some of their art books and used them for inspiration. Video games had art books?
Which one's your favorite? The one that fired my imagination the most.
How would you like to be part of our creative team? Maybe you could have your own art book. You could fire the imagination of someone else.
His eyes widened and he licked his lips. But she saved the best for last. Her brother held his breath as Ramiro Mendez toured them through his mansion, a macabre museum paid for by his blockbuster movies. He gawked at the wax figures of Edgar Allan Poe, Stephen King, and someone she didn't recognize, a tall fellow with a long, thin face and dour expression.
By the way, any news on your adaptation of Mountains of Madness?
Nah, they still want me to get some big name stars and make it sexy.
Well, I definitely go see it, big name stars or not.
He then muttered something about one of his favorite stars having a love scene with something called a shoggoth, and they both laughed. She politely chuckled.
In the meantime, would you be interested in seeing your work brought to life on the screen?
They had to catch him before he hit the floor. As she helped her brother into her car and buckled his belt, he croaked.
How did you manage all this?
She smiled and stroked his shoulder.
I've got friends in high places.
He stared with glazed eyes. On the ride home, she told him of all the things that waited for him in his new life.
You'll never struggle again. All your dreams are coming true. You'll be an important man with a lot of important friends.
She hoped she wasn't laying it on too thick. He just sat, stunned.
Heck, if you want, what's her name will cut up your dinner and feed it to you while she's, you know.
They sat around the meeting table and listened to her report.
Phase 1 has started. The contracts have been signed and they're working to bring my brother's creations to as real to life as they can.
You're sure your brother's monsters will spread the level of fear and panic that we need?
With everyone's talents? Yes.
The council leader gestured at the servers. They stepped forward and filled everyone's glasses.
Then we shall begin preparations for our emergency plans to deal with the forthcoming crisis and show how essential our leadership is.
The group chuckled and her with them. The council leader rose.
Another step to full control.
She raised her glass.
To the next new normal.
They raised their glasses.
To the next new normal.
To the new world order.
To the new world order.
Wow. It's starting to make sense. There was this girl Uncle Ed used to talk about. I always thought it was his imagination. But he said maybe I'd run into her someday, if I was lucky. They say the world can be a dark place sometimes, and it's hard to tell where the lines are drawn, or who you can trust.
It's done. The broadcast went out and Slash encrypted it so it can't be traced.
Good.
I'll have to go underground until this all blows over. I transferred my money into my private account.
Looks like you thought of everything.
I'm just glad Slash and the rest of the gang would still speak to me, let alone help me.
They all thought you'd sell out.
Or any of them did.
Everyone sells out in the end. There's no avoiding it.
That doesn't mean you have to sell people defective products that could kill them.
The Corp will survive. One broadcast won't bring them down.
No. but maybe they'll do a better job of quality control.
They'll do better.
Good. I've got to thank you for helping me in all this. You've really been my personal assistant.
Corp, appointed personal assistant?
You've really taken care of me.
You have no idea.
I feel weird. What's in this drink?
A special blend, you see. The Corp doesn't like it when the mouths they feed bite them.
You?
I'm ordered to take care of you in every potential way.
I see.
They've even got your replacement lined up.
Who?
Slatch.
That's why he helped.
That poor kid. Today, we have immediate access to news, sports, weather, a ton of social networks. This immediacy, this unfettered availability only seems to stoke demands for more. We want the dirty, gory details. We crave the video feed. The increased intensity numbs us and drives the need to up the ante. Wonder if we could go back to a simpler time. Would we be happy hearing about the world only for an hour at 5, 6, and 10? Would you make the effort to read through a whole newspaper, wait for it to be published and delivered to your doorstep? Or would you still demand the 24-hour, up-to-the-moment feed directly to the palm of your hand? Is there no limit to what you will watch? I mean, what sports injury is too severe? Which real-life exposure is too private? What moment is too uncomfortable? Will it only get worse? This could be what a live stream from the future looks like.
The camera hit the dry, cracked dirt and tumbled until it righted itself against a hazy sky. The picture transitioned from blurry to focused to reveal an upside-down deserted landscape and a red bicycle propped against an orange barricade. The sun cast a heated glare at the lens, nearly shielding the heavy combat boots approaching from the right. A gas mask leaned in from the top corner and slid away to reveal a teenager's face.
Whoa. Sorry, dirtbags. Let's try this again.
The camera flipped again, blurred, and focused on the young man's humored eyes, one rimmed in a mottled bruise. He cleared his throat and brushed his curls back behind his ears, before grinning through a split lip.
Dusty here. It's March 6, 2083, and I'm coming to you live from a place no dirtbag has gone before.
The camera twisted and then panned to a collapsed rectangular white sign with neat, bold blue letters.
Wise con sin.
A handful of texted responses filled the chat below, and Dusty scrolled up to his top followers.
Fake.
Hey man, there are cops at your place. Are you okay?
It's Wisconsin, stupid.
Wisconsin? Oh my God, I made the wrong turn.
Dusty glanced at the sign, and his frown turned into a carefree smile that didn't match his eyes.
Whatever. That's not the reason you dirtbags watch my channel, right? Let's get dirty.
Emojis and comments filled the screen. The camera hovered until it reached sky level and swiveled around Dusty's face, revealing a charred concrete jigsaw puzzle all around. Green sprigs sprouted in the cracks and gave color to an otherwise desolate landscape. Dusty approached a rusted car with only 3 doors and spread a ripped and faded book, Bow Doors Guide to Wisconsin, out atop the hood.
Check this book out. I found it in my grandma's stuff with the camera. It shows what this place used to be like before the wars.
Dusty pointed to a photo of a line of cars on a clean road, the sky a beautiful blue, contrasting the now permanent gray.
The ancients used to travel on this road to worship their cheese god. This dude Fodor says they had entire museums dedicated to it. We're walking in the footsteps of disciples right now.
Guy's a bot, don't believe him.
Not a bot, just a loser.
Which button takes me back 40 years?
Your dad's covered in blood, and your mom's crying. Is Jeff with you?
Dusty winced, adjusted the canvas strap around his throat, and turned the camera away from his red-streaked sweatshirt to face the broken pavement ahead. He leaped around the jagged edges, balancing the handheld device with steady fingers, and bent to retrieve something from between two tires.
I live in a compound a few miles away from this place, dirtbags. But my dad never lets me come here. Said it's too dangerous. Guess that doesn't matter anymore, huh?
Dusty, come home. Your mom is freaking out, man.
Dusty cleared his throat and swung the small, artificial tree from its attached string, sniffing it at its edges.
Ugh, smells like my grandma's old clothes.
Tossing the tree aside, Dusty jumped over the puzzle squares and skidded to a halt in a pile of ash and gravel. The camera focused on a broken down sign displaying a K, R, and P. He approached slowly, the camera shaking.
Moving along, up ahead you'll see our destination, the Quick Trip. According to Fodor, this is the spot where the ancients stopped to pick up some grub and buy gasoline for their cars.
The camera panned to 3 rows of gas pumps leading into the complex. The hoses littered the ground, no longer attached, and 2 of the pumps rested on their sides, hugged by rusty chains. The pavement around them matched the stain on Dusty's jacket, and the bullet casings skittered across the concrete in a gust of wind.
My grandma told me about this too. People died here, dirtbags, and all because of greed and desperation. There wasn't enough gasoline for everyone, and some people would rather kill than share.
The camera panned to Dusty's swollen eye as dozens of messages filled the chat.
The cops said Jeff is missing, and they're looking for you. I didn't tell them where you are, man, but I took my sister's bike. Don't do anything until I get there.
Well, are you saying that this loser's a murderer?
Off reviews, don't believe it.
Dusty climbed over a couple overturned shopping carts to reach the door. It hung crooked off its hinges and gave just enough pushback to make him work. With a few grunts and groans, it opened onto a pile of glass and revealed overturned shelves and old food boxes. Dusty covered his nose and mouth.
It smells rancid.
Hey, that's blood on his hands. Who'd you kill, loser?
Does anyone have a map by any chance?
That's a decent special effects job at least.
Shut up! He's my best friend. He needs help.
You know that loser? Did you help him hide the body?
The camera lingered over the piles of cardboard, plastic, and tin congealing on the floor. Dusty stepped over an entire ecosystem of mold and made his way through the maze, miming drinking from shot glasses and poking at a hat in the shape of a slice of cheddar.
Huh. Interesting interpretation of God. Wonder what a slice of cheese would kill for.
Finally, he panned the camera to the back of the store, where metal racks displayed T-shirts. Dusty charged towards them.
Hey, souvenirs!
The camera blinked and blurred around a series of moving hangers, and then refocused on a black T-shirt with yellow lettering. Dusty stilled, and the camera shifted from focus to blurry. He hit the floor with the T-shirt still on his lap and facing the focusing camera. My brother went to Wisconsin and all I got was this lousy T-shirt.
Dusty, I'm almost there. Just don't move, man.
Dude, you should probably run. The cops are on your tail.
This is boring. I'm signing off.
I have the same t-shirt in green.
Dusty turned the T-shirt around in his lap, the blood from his hands dotting the brightly covered leathers. He hiccuped and wiped his face with the shirt.
I don't understand how anyone can commit murder. Whether it's for gasoline, or food, or a stupid charging adapter. How is that, any of that, more important than people? I don't understand dirtbags. Do you?
Dusty panned the camera up to show his bruised face streaked with tears and blood.
It's my fault. I took Jeff's adapter to charge my camera. I swear I was going to give it back. When he found out he hit me, Dad tried to stop him, and Jeff, he had a knife.
I found it. This is all legit. It's all over the internet. We're famous.
Not as famous as I am.
Dusty, your dad's alive. This isn't your fault.
My brother told me he wanted to kill me 1,000,000 times, and I never believed him. I should have believed him. I should have believed that he hated us. Our ancestors hated each other. This place is the proof.
The camera turned to focus on a store painted in bloodstains, bullet holes, and char.
Hate is destructive and deadly and contagious. Maybe I'll catch it just being here. Or maybe it's already in me, in my genes. Like it is in my brothers. A gift from our ancestors.
A teenager with green hair and a black hooded sweatshirt stumbled over piles of glass and debris, landed on his hands and knees. He crawled to Dusty, dragged him into his arms, and let the camera fall, showing a lopsided view of their entwined bodies.
It's not your fault, Dusty. Your dad's gonna be okay. They found Jeff. They're arresting him now. You're safe now.
Over Drake's shoulder, an ambulance and 3 police cars pulled up outside and bathed the store in red and blue. The 2 young men held each other tight and cried while dozens of likes and comments flooded the video.
All this for a PG ending. Boring.
What a relief. I found the exit. Goodbye, virtual Wisconsinites.
Check out the Real Bloodies channel. She's live streaming a mass shooting right now.
On my way!
Heroes. We all need a hero. Someone who arrives in the nick of time. Could that hero be me? Or you? Or a young girl trying to do the right thing? Would you want that responsibility? If you had superhuman powers, or uncommon knowledge, extraordinary reasoning skills, and the impeccable timing, all through the second act, we've met everyday heroes. A young man helping his friend, a girl doing her best to expose the uglier side of people. I guess heroism looks different when we seek it for our own notoriety. But let's meet a fresh new superhero in this next story, Bomb Threats and Bee Stings.
The insidious Ultra Bomber enters his lab after planting bombs throughout the city. He plans to send a malicious ransom note to City Hall. The bombastic bad boy is threatening to blow up the city unless his diabolical demands are met. Can anyone stop this explosive evildoer before it's too late?
Wait, what's that buzzing? None of my equipment is on. Oh, there's a bee sitting on my control console.
Ultra Bomber fingers the force field control on his belt. It's the latest fashion trend for supervillains.
Don't like bees. Don't even like honey.
Ultra Bomber grabs a fly swatter and swats at the bee. The bee rips the swatter out of Ultra Bomber's hand and snaps it in two. Ultra Bomber plops down into his chair.
What the?
The bee begins to grow into a large, muscular man. Okay, he didn't have real muscles, just padding under his black and yellow spandex costume. Two antennae jut out of his mask. Heavenly honeycombs? This is no ordinary bee. The city is saved. Ultra Bomber is about to meet his nemesis.
Beware, villain! I've come to save the hive and day from your foul deeds. I am the mighty Bee-Man!
How do all the loons find me?
The game is up, foul villain. I have learned of your dastardly plan to blow up the city, and I am here to support you, Mega Bomber!
Ultra Bomber.
What?
It's Ultra Bomber. Mega Bomber works out of Gary.
Oh.
I am here to thwart your dastardly plans, Ultra Bomber!
Dastardly. Where did you get that? Owlman's online videos on how to be a superhero?
None of your beeswax. Nevertheless, I am here to stop you, foul villain.
Yeah, take a number.
Ultra Bomber tries to move around him, but Bee-Man steps in front of him, fist on his waist.
What are you doing?
I'm stopping you from...
Ultra Bomber slaps him in the face. Bee-Man staggers back, reaching along the side of his leg and pulling out a yellow and black striped baton. As he points the sharp end at Ultra Bomber, its tip begins to glow.
Foul villain! I will best you with my bee stinger!
Bee-Man points his baton at Ultra Bomber and fires a bolt of electricity. In response, Ultra Bomber presses a button on his fashionable belt to activate a force field.
My force field will deflect your electrical attacks until your batteries run out.
You may think you have beaten me, fiend. I will have to thrash you.
Bee-Man holsters his bee stinger, then crouches into a martial arts stance, leaps into the air to strike the Ultra Bomber with a flying kick. Unfortunately, Bee-Man's foot smashes into the force field and he ricochets off, crashing into Ultra Bomber's console.
Oh no! The bombs I planted!
Explosions rock the building, knocking both men to their knees. The windows shatter and pepper them with glass slivers. Miraculously, the building does not collapse.
What happened?
You idiot! You set off all the bombs that I planted in the city!
What are you yelling at me for? Isn't that what you wanted?
You probably killed thousands of people!
What are you talking about?
Ultra Bomber pulls Bee-Man over to his control console. 3 monitors show the devastation.
I was only going to detonate the bombs if they didn't pay my ransom. And I would have evacuated the buildings first.
Oh, God. I'm gonna be sick.
What kind of superhero are you?
I just started yesterday.
You're a newbie? And you went up against a seasoned pro like me?
I didn't think a guy who called himself Mega Bomber.
Ultra Bomber!
Whatever! I didn't think you'd be that tough. What kind of supervillain just makes bombs?
They're really good bombs.
Isn't there something we can do?
Do? We can't do anything. Wait. Yes! Yes! There is something we can do!
Ultra Bomber jogs out of the lab with Bee-Man in tow, across the hall to a storage room. The shelves, crammed with bombs and other inventions, are covered in dust. Ultra Bomber begins rummaging through them.
What are you looking for?
Ultra Bomber holds up a small blue box with a digital timer on top.
This! My time bomb!
Aren't all your bombs time bombs?
Not like this. The explosion is focused to open a rift in the space-time continuum for a minute.
So?
We can go back in time and stop ourselves from setting off the bombs.
Or we can stop you from planting them in the first place.
Let's just stop you from setting off the bombs for now.
Ultra Bomber places the box in an empty space on the floor and takes a few steps back. B-Man crouches behind him. A few minutes pass. A flash of light and then, well, can describe a rift in space and time, especially on our budget. Imagine it floating above the device, twisting in and out of itself, a glowing radiance of many colors.
Wow, it's the bee's knees.
I guess that's one way of looking at it.
So we jumped through that and we zipped back in time before the bombs went off?
Yes. If the settings are right. I've never really used it.
Let's do it!
B-Man leaps into the rift, pulling Ultra Bomber with him. The light is blinding. They fall almost weightlessly for a long time. Finally, their feet touch the ground and they fall forward into mud.
Hey, wake up!
I'm awake.
Great. Where are we?
They stand in a dense forest. No, a jungle. No, something in between. The trees and plants seem alien, yet familiar.
Where are we?
Well, we should be in my lair. I think we went too far back in time.
How far back?
Something large flew over them with leathery wings. It takes them a moment to recognize.
A pterodactyl!
I'd say pretty far back. At least there doesn't seem to be any cornfields.
Well, let's go back and try again.
Well, we would. If you'd give me a chance to pick up my time bomb so I could take us back.
Oh, duty. Can you make another?
I don't think I can go to Radio Shack for the parts for another, 12 million years.
We're stuck here? Like bees in a spider web?
Yeah.
Without honey?
I'm debating tying you down to eating my fire ants. Or maybe I'll feed you to a dinosaur. What are you looking at?
Look!
B-Man points to a clearing a few hundred yards away. A growing radiance is beginning to fill it.
Come on, let's check it out.
Why do all the hero types want to run into certain death? Fine, but slowly. You go first. I'll be a few feet behind. Maybe a football field away.
They slowly approach the radiance, a swirling display of multicolored lights. It's another time rift. As the lights fade, a figure emerges from the rift.
Let's be careful, okay, Bumblebee?
He looks harmless as a drone.
The figure does indeed look harmless. It is an older man with a slight pot belly, wearing a kilt over his khakis, a t-shirt and tennis shoes. His shaggy white hair and bushy beard stood out. He looks around his surroundings and sighs.
Hi.
Oh, hi. I didn't think anyone would be here.
We didn't think we would meet anyone here either. You be, come on out.
Hey,
Hey there. You guys from around here?
we were time traveling. We overshot our mark and are stuck here now.
Yeah. That happens a lot to me. I was looking for someone, but I seem to have gone back too far. Or maybe I went too far forward. It's all the same in the other end.
Do you think you can help us get back to our time?
Oh, sure. Time traveling is one of my powers.
Really? By the Queen Bee, are you a superhero too?
Not really.
The man smiles, revealing his bright white fangs.
I'm an Irish vampire. The name is Ed Calkins.
Huh. So Uncle Ed was a real time traveler. It's no wonder he had such a unique perspective. Despite that challenge, or maybe because of it, he's always been there for me. Wherever there might be.
Time. Doing time. Serving time. Wasting time. Keeping time. In time. Out of time. No time. About time. Borrowed time. Free time. Save time. Precious time. Quality time. The right time. The wrong time. A good time. A bad time. A fine time. A hell of a time. What time? This time. That time. Next time. Last time. At no time. Daytime. Lunchtime. Dinner time. Supper time. Nighttime. Bedtime. Downtime. Vacation time. Time off. Overtime. Sick time. Double time. Running time. Half time. Stop time. Time out. Timeline. Time zone. Time warp. Time on my side. Time on my hands. Time limit. Time's up.
Well, we've covered a lot of time together tonight. Uncle Ed sure covered a lot of time. And still there are so many questions. Maybe, if I could talk to that young girl, the one who scribbled her fragments of time in Ed's journal, what would she think? If she's the future, what questions does the future hold?
What is love? What is life? What is happiness? What is strife? People come and people go. The ones we love, the ones we know. Life goes on. What is false? What is true? I'm most alive when I'm with you. But now you're gone. Like a dream of the night. I have left to me no more fight. Life goes on. I eat, I sleep, I wake, I cry, be it a long short or an absent goodbye. It's always too soon when someone must die. Then life goes on. Will anyone miss me? Will anyone weep? When it's my time to sleep the eternal sleep? I will miss my children, my lovers and friends, and pray that it is true that we will meet again. But for now, we're all here. Let us dance in the rain, forgetting our sorrow, our fear, and our pain. For now, we're together, even though we're the last. So dance that dance. Raise your glass. for this too shall pass.
Life goes on.
Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us this evening. We want to thank the staff at Bicentennial Park Theater here for putting up with us and our unusual habits. We want to thank the Joliet Public Library for supporting WriteOn Joliet, for having a local writers section. We thank Jan from the Book Market for supporting us all year long, for giving us rehearsal space, for holding book signings, book launches, and having all of our books on display all the time. And mostly we want to thank you, our families who put up with us, late hours, early mornings, rehearsals, odd habits, pens and pencils and things, sticky notes all over the place. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. And now, if you'd like to meet us out in the lobby, chat a little bit about the books, pick up some souvenirs to take home. Thank you. Rachel?
Thank you, guys. Thank you.